So in today's video, I'll speak about something that I found. I forgot the actual source of this. I found somewhere written that it is cheaper to ship goods from Lagos, Nigeria to London than from Lagos, Nigeria to Accra, Ghana. That doesn't make sense. Yes, it doesn't make sense. But it's not a mystery. It's infrastructure. And to be more specific, it's rail infrastructure. This is what we're going to talk about today. So just take it from me, a Zimbabwean living in South Africa. I know some women who would wake up early morning, as early as 3 a.m. in Harare to go to Beitbridge. To go to Roadport and get on a bus to Beitbridge and cross the Beitbridge on foot. And sometimes they even cross at night just to bring a few Zimbabwean products like Royco, Mazowe, which I saw not only Zimbabweans enjoy Mazowe, even some South Africans that I know, they actually enjoy Mazowe. They actually enjoy some Zimbabwean products, but they have to bring them in this way, not because they want to break the law, but because putting these same goods that they're bringing on a legal track can cost 3 times more. And so I would say that's not a crime to try to bring those products in South Africa, but it's a market that's begging for rail. What am I talking about? Because right now, Africa is trying to build a free trade area without systems to actually trade. So in this video, we are going to break down why without rail infrastructure, the AfCFTA risks becoming a policy with no movement behind it. So right now, the Intra African Trade sits at around 15% compared to Europe over 60% and Asia nearly 60% at this moment. So the question is not, can Africa trade? The question is, why doesn't it trade within itself? Because logistics insufficiencies can increase the cost of goods to up to 30 and 40%. Not because the product itself is expensive, but because moving those products is expensive, because the way that we have to move those products is very expensive as compared to using rail. So let me give you some real numbers so that you can get to understand what I'm talking about. A 20-ton container of maize meal from Johannesburg to Harare by road is about $2,500. The same container by rail should be about $800. But you can't get that price because the direct rail line is barely functional. So the 1,700 difference, where does it go? That's the hidden tax that I'm talking about, because it ends up in a pocket of somebody at the border or somebody in the bus being an agent or something like that for customs. So this is where the rail becomes very important for Africa. But we'll come back to that. The road problem is serious also. So even if we are moving by road, which is like over 80% of goods in Africa which are moving by road, through trucks, only trucks, no trains, not integrated systems of transportation, just trucks crossing borders, and there are a lot of delays on the roads, and most of these delays, they happen during the time when these goods are actually on demand, like in festive seasons. And the fuel costs, like as of time of recording right now, the fuel is going up again with another about 40%, I think 30 to 40%. The fuel is going up. So, and also there are some border friction between neighboring countries here in Africa, especially in the Southern Africa and probably in some parts of the Central Africa. But in this context, so the Southern Africa, there's a lot of border frictions going on there because of some stuff that will be going on between the two countries, between two places that are near to those borders. And also, not to forget poor road conditions in most countries, especially in Zimbabwe. I would attest to that because I was there. The poor road conditions are actually one of the biggest factors that will cause more expense when it comes to travel by road. So this, what we have, is not a trade system, because you can say yes, but we are still trading. Yes, but it is not a trade system. It's survival logistics. I've watched trucks at the Beitbridge border spend like 4 days at the border, and the driver is sleeping in the cab, perishable goods rotting, and the driver is tired, don't even have the ablution places to clean themselves up and stuff like that. And when they are so frustrated, and the owner of the company, of the trucking company, or the client themselves will end up communicating with somebody at the border, and then there appears a fixer at the border, and that person would request, let's say for instance, 500 rand for the truck to move from one place to the other, just across the border. That's only probably the South African side, and then the Zimbabwean side will have its own. So this is not a trade agreement, it's a shakedown. But to understand why, we have to go back. My favorite subject. I like going back to history. Somebody will tell me that, oh, but we have a rail system that comes from Johannesburg. That comes from South Africa into Zimbabwe. But you need to understand something. Most African rail systems were not built to connect African countries with each other. They were built to extract resources from mines to port, from farms to ships, not from Lagos to Accra, not from Harare to Lusaka. So here's something that they don't teach you in school. The old Rhodesian, which is a present-day Zimbabwe, rail system from Beitbridge to Harare was built to send chrome and tobacco south to Durban, not north to Lusaka. Even now, the same logic survives. We have a railway that connects Zimbabwe to South Africa's port, but not Zimbabwe to Botswana, not Zimbabwe to Zambia. We are still exporting to the world while starving our own neighbors. So, even today, our infrastructure reflects an outward-facing economy. We are connected to the world better than we are connected to ourselves. Now, here is where things can change. One freight train can carry a load of up to 50 trucks. Think about it. 50 trucks. That's not just efficiency. That's scale. Rail is cheaper over long distances, more predictable, and more efficient. This is what industrial economies are built on, not roads, systems that connect. I remember my grandfather used to tell me a story about the good old days when the Limpopo line used to run weekly freight from Messina to Harare. Farmers used to use that. Traders used to use that. Then the line decayed. And now those same traders are using combis and using trunks of their own cars. We went backwards. Rail gave us scale. We traded scale for survival. Rail does not just move goods. It builds economies. And this connects directly to the AfCFTA. So the AfCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area, is one of the largest trade agreements in the world on paper, as I said on one of my previous videos. Because without infrastructure, trade agreements don't move anything. They enable trade, but they don't execute it. Africa is facing an infrastructure gap of over $100 billion per year. Not Zim dollars, $100 billion per year. I remember sometime a few years ago, I think about 2 years ago, I was in Messina. It's a small town on the SA side of Beitbridge, for those who do not know it. A lot of malls, informal malls in that area are packed with Zimbabwean goods, like bulk and retail. But how do those get there? Like I said before, not by the AfCFTA, not by policy, but by people carrying 25 kgs, 30 kgs, and some even 40, 50 kgs of bags on their heads, bribing guards, and walking across the border. That's not free trade. That's free fall. The rail would end this overnight. So while policy is moving forward, execution is falling behind. Without rail, the AfCFTA risks becoming a document, not a system. This is where it goes deeper. Infrastructure is sovereignty. I think I said that in one of my previous videos too. If you cannot move your goods efficiently, you are dependent on foreign shipping on foreign shipping routes, on external logistics systems, on global pricing structures. That's not free trade. That's managed participation. Ask any Zimbabwean trader who crosses the border who controls your supply chain. They won't say it's the AfCFTA. They don't even know that name. Most of them don't even know this. As I'm speaking right now, I think I only found out about this name this year. That it's actually something that exists, that is important to us as Africans. And they won't say it's the government that controls their trade, their supply chain, I mean. They'll say a name of a specific person at the bribes gate, or somebody who's helping them, an agency of a certain bus that they use to cross, or a certain trucking company that helps them facilitate to go through that. That's not sovereignty. That's a toll gate run by criminals. Rail lines don't have 47 checkpoints. Rail lines have schedules. They're predictable, as I said. So let me bring it back a little bit. I'm not really against informal trade. It feeds families. But when informal trade is bigger than formal trade, that's not entrepreneurship. That's a failed system. So we go back to that question that I said we get back to. Can Africa trade with itself? The answer is yes, but not like this. Not with fragmented roads, not with colonial-era rail systems, not with disconnected economies. Trade agreements don't build economies. Infrastructure does. Because I want to see a day where a trader in Harare can load goods in a train at Mbare, for example, and sleep and wake up in Johannesburg the next morning without paying a single bribe. That's not a dream. That's just a railway line away. And until Africa connects itself, the AfCFTA will remain an ambition, not a reality. So if this conversation gets you thinking, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss a video. This is a matter of context. And I'm Tino. Peace.